Hello and welcome. I'm Paragon RG. Map control. It's difficult. It's a little bit elusive. What does it actually mean? I want to talk a little bit about that, and we'll jump to a game of the Viper playing against Castle on Mountain Pass. Mountain Pass being a great map to investigate map control on. Because there's that pass in the middle, the person that controls it often gets an advantage. So let's go ahead and jump into the game, and we'll talk a little bit about map control. What are its advantages? How do you get it? And here we are. We're in the game. We are watching the game from the Viper's point of view, at least from his Fog of War. I'm going to stay like this for a reason. What I want the outcome to be is that as we're watching, we get a sense of if the Viper has map control, and I'm not going to tell you whether he wins or loses this game. If he has map control, we should feel it, right? We should see the advantages, things like understanding what's going on the map, being able to get the relics, being able to capture sacred sites, having information so you can know what units to make to counter your opponent. These are all advantages of map control. And of course, if he doesn't have it, how does it feel, right? How does it feel to be trapped in your own base? To not know, like you feel like you'll push out and just immediately get pummeled. Now that's not strictly true. It tends to feel that way. And you can definitely push out of map control, right? Sometimes map control is a little bit elusive. It's like, oh, but I had map control. Well, not always enough, right? If you have map control, but your opponent still figured out what your plan is and is able to just push out and punish you, then that doesn't help. Or maybe you have map control, but not when you need it. For example, you have map control, but once Castle Age ticks over, you lose it. Now you don't have access to the relics and things like that on the map. So we'll follow a little bit of what's going on in the game here. The Viper does have just the one scout and a prelate. Looks like he is moving forward right off the top to wall off this map. Now, or wall off the pass, rather. We have to confirm whether or not... So his scout will probably track along the pass and confirm that there's no other way into the base. The worst possible thing is that you wall off and then you're not actually walled off. Now you've spent all the resources to do it, and you get none of the benefit from it. Okay, so we're getting right to the edge of the map, and close enough to see that this is walled. And this is looking like it's walled, but he may confirm that as well. And also something you can do is if you have a unit here, and you click, you tell them to go over here, and they start running upward, that alone tells you that that you can't get through here. Or in theory you can, but it's a shorter path to go this other way, which isn't very likely. So far it looks like he's going to get the wall up, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. 2 villagers to do it. So when we talk about the costs of map control, it does cost... It costs attention, right? It costs effort. And actually, Scout getting here now may block this off. Looks like doesn't want to have his sheep killed, for example, or lose too much HP on that Scout. Second Scout is now trying to torch down the wall for Cashfall. Let's close this off here. By the way, didn't go over it, but Viper playing as the Holy Roman Empire, Cashfall playing as the English. So the relics are going to be particularly important for Viper. Part of why he walled off is probably that he saw relics right here. And in fact, relics being over here as well, this is very, very favorable. 4 relics on his side if he gets this wall up, right? So if he went with 1 villager there, he probably doesn't get this wall up because, in fact, there was a scout that showed up who would have started hacking at the villager. And the second one would have meant that villager probably would have died about halfway through finishing the wall. So Viper, very early on, putting not just, sort of APM, not just human effort, but losing 2 villagers to building a wall. Maybe I shouldn't say losing. Sort of putting your villager collection, resource collection on hold for 2 of them for a couple of minutes is actually a pretty big deal in the early game. And you can see his feudal age is suffering for it. So Auction Chapel, really nice placement of this. Doesn't really get the wood, although he may end up getting some of it in this direction. But how many does he have? He has 6 on it, which is quite a few. and it's going to be something like 5.5 minutes. So definitely not a fast fuel age out of the Viper. Scout is forward, just keeping an eye on what's going on over here. So for example, if his opponent shows up and builds a tower, then he'll very easily be able to get through, and that's the kind of thing that the Viper would want to know about. And you can tell he's watching Scout jogging back and forth there. Viper chasing down this Scout and its sheep. Probably won't have too much success with that. And I guess we should note Viper does have 2 Scouts at this stage. 6 on food, 4 on wood, 2 on gold. Looks pretty standard. So the question is, what is this wood going to be spent on? Wouldn't be surprised if this is a fast castle build out of the Viper. And, oh, it looks like he is on stone as well. I was just wondering if he would start to consider adding a stone wall here. So something that a lot of players make the mistake in is they're like, oh, but I walled. And then their opponent just gets 5 scouts and busts through. Or a bunch of spearmen or something. And you just can't keep up. And then, of course, you can't repair it from behind if they have a couple of archers behind. So Palisade Wall really is quite fragile. Viper letting his opponent kind of do the scouting for him. Is just going to follow that scout around. Sees the sacred site down here. So the Viper definitely needs a... I mean, it is looking. I shouldn't say definitely. In fact, Archer's showing up now. So building a second wall here is going to be difficult, and he has to build it farther back, and it's actually on the wrong side of this relic. But there's not a lot he can do about that. Maybe he could sneak a wall this side of the relic, but obviously that's going to be pretty difficult. His opponent's scout now moving in range of these archers, so Viper can't really kill that scout. And it's starting to look like this wall is going to go down, and Viper cancels his second palisade wall, opting instead to add an outpost. So I think this makes a whole lot of sense. That wall is just sort of delaying the inevitable, and it doesn't put any pressure on this second relic. Outposts are very good against archers, so this makes quite a bit of sense. And it looks like he will succeed in getting it up, and in fact, just in case, sends a couple more villagers, which I like quite a bit. In fact, even 2 more coming forward. So actually one going back. So we talk about the costs of map control. This is it, right? You have to use your resources to keep it. Now this is only one form of map control, right? And he's really only maintaining his side of the map. His opponent would have pretty much full map control if Viper didn't wall, right? Because all these archers would be able to sort of roam around. Even if they can't get right into Viper's base, they can put pressure on anything outside of this that they want, and Viper would not feel safe in his own half. So, in a way, walling is the cheaper method to gain some map control when your opponent is putting so many resources into military. Looking at the resources now, it does look like the Viper is trying to get up to the next age, and I do expect a stone wall. Either that or the stone is just for emplacements. In fact, we do now see just over 100 stone being used on arrow slits and then fortify outposts. So that will make this outpost quite a bit stronger. Second palisade wall going down now. Battering ram is being made. So fortify outpost will definitely start in time. I don't know if it'll finish in time. More villagers coming forward again. Yeah, so I mean, if you look at the overall efficiency of their economies, you have to figure that Casfa is ahead in that regard. Now, the Octagon Chapel is not to be underestimated. It is very powerful, and the Viper will try to manually target down his opponent's units when he can. He has some units forward. He can try to repair the outpost. And there he goes. You see it manually targeting. Rather, see him manually targeting. Viper is a person. So getting at least a couple of longbow kills here. But the longbows choose to pile into the ram, which makes this pretty tricky. These villagers can go down very, very easily now. Longbows just pop out, snipe a villager, and move right along. This outpost is not looking long for this world, so the battle for map control in the center is starting to look like it is going to go in Castro's favor. Now, he is losing longbows now, but I didn't see these spears. And the Horsemen of Viper going down so quickly to those spears. Outposts going down. Villagers will go down. And he is now breaking down the gates. So, Viper in a bit of a tricky spot. Adding an archery range now. One of the worst things... One of the worst places to be in this game is to be part of the way to Castle Age. Like, this is most of the way. But instead, having to commit to Feudal Army. Because what that meant is that... What that means is that you could have been... And now a blacksmith. This is... So, he could have had more units out here to hold this position and then potentially, you know, kill his opponent's army, take more map control for himself, or what have you. But instead, they were in the bank, and he's now having to spend them late, which means he's simply on the back foot. We'll see what he is able to make of this. Battering ram spitefully destroying the rest of the palisade. So definitely nowhere near the Castle Age at this stage. Less than half the food he needs. More than half the gold, though. And I now wonder what this stone is going to be used for, or if perhaps these villagers should be pulled somewhere else. So, take a look at his view now. Not just what he's explored, but what he can currently see. Look how unsafe this feels. Right? There could be units right here. They could be right here. You have no idea. Why? Because, well, the wall failed, and if you have a wall, you can be pretty sure, unless they, you know, snuck a villager past or something, they don't have army past that wall. Even if he just had units roaming around, Casvo wouldn't feel... If Viper had units, Casvo wouldn't feel safe in this area. Or if he was in this area, he would kind of know that the Viper could track him down and deal with him. We'll run away here, but the Horsemen should be able to kill that scout. There it goes. So fully on the back foot here now is the Viper. Trying to make units... He might actually have to stop making units out of the stable. Otherwise, they may be shot down as they pop out, but it looks like he's okay as long as Kashra doesn't move forward. Kashra now with the safety to move forward with 4 villagers. Add Stonewall, and presumably a Stonewall tower will be coming up. So this entire sort of cone here will be shootable by a tower that Kashra adds in this position. Ram's now taking down his house. It's looking so bad for the Viper. Some idle villagers now as well. Needs to deal with those. More stone walls here. Actually will range. So even if there was no sight lines here. Rather, even if there's no tower here, potentially a tower here could range anything on the wood line. Ram's now taking down this archer range, but Viper using emergency repairs. Archers just getting any shots they can off on the ram, although of course they're not particularly effective at doing so. Now the Viper has snuck some horsemen through. So this is one of those times where map control can be a little bit, let's say, illusory. So Kashva is fully forward. It looks like he has full map control, but the question is, does that actually... villagers going down now for the Viper. Does that stop him from slipping some cavalry around and up through here? Kashva didn't wall. He didn't have units in this area to prevent them from doing so. So Viper is now raiding. And yes, I would argue Kashva has more map control, but Viper has mobility here. So this is where things get a little bit tricky, and he probably will take out multiple villagers on Kashva's gold. Does he get it? Okay, another one goes down. So 3 villagers on Kashva's gold going down. Really well played from Viper, calling into question what map control Kashva actually has, even though he's pushing Viper out of his own base. A few, like I mentioned earlier, a few archers here could really just end the game. Viper would not be able to handle that with these villagers. Adding his own stone wall now to protect this area, and we see units coming through. Not looking good for the Viper. Quite a few, in fact. So they are fully revealed now. A little bit of Glitch there. Looks like the archers have wrapped themselves in their bowstrings. Viper targeting down the spearmen of his opponent. Horsemen are currently idle. Now would be a good time to use them. Of course, now is also the most difficult time to do so. Rams moving this way now as well. Will Viper get this tower up? I'll have to see. Yeah, Aachen Chapel, not accomplishing very much for him anymore. That prelate would almost be better to just go down and take a sacred site or something like that. And the resources are all wacky for the Viper. So, by the way, Viper did try to move forward, lost a horseman. Lots of spears and archers back here. But remember, the fact that Kashfa has to keep these units back here suggests that he doesn't have full map control. Now, he is getting it. And if you see the wall going down here, Viper is really starting to be locked into his own base. So it's really just these units out here that are providing Viper any semblance of map control, or are at least contesting the control of his opponent. These towers are super badass looking. Oops, that's my mistake. I've now lost all information that Viper can see. So hopefully that glitch gets fixed soon. I accidentally switched to Kashfa's view. I think this is what I was going for. That's what it was. Horsemen trying to be tracked down from Kashfa. Honestly, this is looking so bad for the Viper. I think I may speed up at this point. I'm not really that sure what he can do. He's tried to at least... I mean, I really like these stone walls here. Has some archers guarding the top side as well. Stonewall towers with their spring-on placements are really quite good and can potentially kill rams as well. May even be able to guard each other the way they're currently positioned, with a nice farming economy behind it. Of course, it's not beside the chapel, so that is the opposite of ideal for the Viper. So let's speed up a little bit here. Quickly check the horsemen moving around here. Starting to get on low health, and there's not too many of them anymore. So I think they're not long for this world, and that's interesting. So Viper added a stone wall here, hoping to basically block his opponent in his own base, right? If his opponent can't provide any reinforcements, then potentially Viper has the ability to clean up all of what is inside of his own half. Maybe still kill these with mangonels or something like that. But of course, if he can't get to the castle age, he's probably not going to be able to clean anything up at all. Adding a ram of his own. Oh, he has 2 rams already here. Taking out this stone wall tower. Archers moving forward. Sniping down the spearmen here. But his opponent will be up on this tower. We'll have to find out if Viper's able to get up on top of here with his men-at-arms. And I think they can go around the back and do so, but we'll have to see what happens here. So here they go. Looping around the back, but all of Viper's archers going down. Oh, and you know what? He needed this tower to stay up. Now he can't get up. The tower provides a door to get up onto the wall. His opponent has now hit the castle age. In fact, white tower forward. So Kashfa's really just saying, nope, this was your half of the map. This is now also my half of the map. And you may have walled me out, but he has battering rams. He sends some back, busts through here, here. And is now coming through here as well. So we should expect a huge batch of reinforcements pretty soon from Kashfa to the front lines of his base. Viper moving forward with men-at-arms, but this is pretty much desperation. Let's follow them here. Getting shot at from the white tower from behind as well. Rebuilding the stone wall. Very cheeky. Ram will be able to deal with it, though. With a little bit more time. Now, can archers actually... They can shoot over stone wall. I thought they couldn't. I remember reading that somewhere. I think maybe they're not supposed to be able to. This white tower is doing God's work. It's killed men-at-arms for sure. caused real problems for the Viper. Really no way of reinforcing anything up here anymore. Trebuchet now. Casfa. Viper's still stuck in the feudal age, so look at the resources he has. Just keep in mind that, remember that he got stuck in the middle of feudal and castle age, and that is the absolute last thing you want to happen. So he did invest a lot in trying to wall this off. Failed in doing so. So he could have potentially invested more and tried to get a stone wall up here earlier. But of course that sets him even farther behind. Or he could have not invested here at all, rushed for castle age, or got a bigger feudal age army, and contested the middle as one would normally do. So there it goes. Pardon me. There it goes. So the Viper loses this one to Casva, and hopefully watching a lack of map control from a player's point of view gives you a little bit of a better idea of how it feels to not have it. And hopefully, so I'm going to keep streaming. We'll keep talking about map control, and we'll try to figure out what you should be thinking when you don't have map control, and we'll let each game dictate the things we talk about. All right, folks, this has been Paragon RG. If you enjoyed this one, help me out, send me a like, subscribe, and I will catch you next time.